Hello everyone and welcome to Whiskey Wednesday, the second video in our Old Forester series, and we'll be mentioning something a bit important at the end, and it will be down to the comment section whether or not we do it. But today we're focusing on Old Forester Statesman. Now for those of you that are familiar with the Kingsman films, this was released last year or the year before in relation to that movie. Glendronach did a single barrel, I think it was a 25-year-old, and Old Forester released this as like a coincidental America meets England / United Kingdom vibe thing. It is a 95 proof bourbon, so 47.5%, much higher than the standard at 43. I say much higher, it's not that much higher, but ABV can always give you more flavours and more interesting depths, and this one certainly does that. It was such a success and it was such a good whiskey. It's £50, so it's pretty much double the value of the standard release. But it did so well for them, they're just keeping it on in the regular range. So it's now become part of the typical Old Forester releases, along with some of the limited releases like the Birthday Bourbon in the 1920 and the 1910. But these two, the base and then the next level up, always going to be available, always going to be there for you. Which is nice because it is a very well put together whiskey. The most intriguing part about all of it is that the barrels for this are sourced from the top of the warehouse. Now obviously in America, things get pretty hot pretty quickly. You store barrels on the bottom, it's the coldest part of that warehouse, and they mature slower, much as they do in Scotland, although the temperature's still going to be a bit higher than normal. Middle floor, that's kind of like where you're taking all your measurements of your average temperatures. You're always going to take barrels from the middle floor because they're always going to provide like a solid consistency through evaporation and expansion and contraction. Top floor is where all the heat is. Heat rises. I think the evaporation rate for American bourbon is anywhere from about 4 to 6% per barrel per year, compared to like the 1.5 to 2% in Scotland and Ireland. India and Taiwan is even more excessive, gets into maybe like the teens, early 20s sometimes. But this stuff from the Statesman is also from the top floor of the warehouse, which is going to give us bigger flavour, drier flavour, much more intense flavour. Other than having a very pretty bottle, there's not much else to talk to you about it with. We've the film kind of link, the part of the warehousing. So all we've got to do now is dive in and smell it and taste it. So let's do that. Picks up where the standard one leaves off. There are these nice kind of very light touches of vanilla, very light touches of like ice cream and caramel and toffee, but they're quite far off in the background. Up front is more like kind of earthy herbaceousness I was talking about. This is the same mash bill as number one, so it's still 18% rye, and it's just coming out so much more. Like it smells to me like a bit kind of sweet potato-y. It's got an earthiness to it, which is quite rounded, but still has sweetness to it as well. It then begins to kind of find its way into that that blackberry, forest fruit, almost kind of strawberry note. There's like a strawberry fondant thing kind of kicking around in there. A little bit of milk chocolate, again that kind of powdered cocoa powder milk chocolate. But just those two lead notes of like really juicy forest fruits and then earthiness that I can only really describe as like when you like bake sweet potatoes in an oven. That kind of nice, almost like rich, soily kind of sweetness to it. Very floral, loads going on, and then that little bit of chocolate and that little bit of caramel is there, but it's quite far at the back, so it's not leading the way like a lot with a lot of other products. The most important part is the taste, especially compared to the first one, because we love that. Let's see what the Statesman has to say for itself. Just as we thought, being sourced from those upper floors of that warehouse, it is a bigger, drier style. It's not really intense. It's not intense in a way that, you expect really like loads of spiciness, kind of like chili heat. It's not overly tannic, it's not overly bitter. It does lead with rye spice and it leads with oak influence. And that mingles around your mouth for quite a while. top of your palate, sides of your tongue, even underneath your tongue. Really prickly and like fresh, really kind of wakes you up a little bit. And then down the center of your tongue, there's this just like thick, lovely caramel. That chocolate note comes through a little bit more. And then kind of like, obviously tasting and smelling are two very important things. You can't really do one without the other. Kind of like in my actual nasal cavity, awful word, but we're going to use it. All I'm getting is that kind of, that creme de cassis, that kind of blackcurranty, not tropical fruit, but again, forest fruits. They're deeper, they're darker. Almost kind of slightly sour, but still sugary as well. It's pretty good. Just gets earthier, it gets deeper. Things like caraway, cardamom, coriander, it's becoming weirdly salty now. But I dig it, there's a lot of flavour going on with it. And as we know from previous celebrity related videos, not all of them are great. Like the Game of Thrones whiskies, of the two we reviewed, one of them was a standout, one of them was a little bit of a letdown. That's a link to a film which I thought was an okay movie, but that is a very, very, very well put together bourbon. Its history is interesting, the sourcing of the barrels is quite different to the regular stock, and the depth of flavour with it is still growing now. It's like an amalgamation of sour, sweet fruitiness, salty, coriander, spicy caraway, rye things, and then the left-hand side of my mouth is that kind of toffee, chocolate, honey, butterscotchy vibes. Delicious, £50 a bottle. It is very good. I don't know if it's like loads better in terms of the standard, because that's crazy value, but I think the Statesman is a little bit better, so I'm going to give it an 8.5. Not quite a 9. I think it is edging towards it, but I don't give like 8.6s and 8.7s and stuff like that. So at 8.5, beautiful development of flavour, really interesting history, and a whiskey that is so good it's gone beyond a celebrity link, which I think sings for itself, because you don't know this whiskey anymore for Kingsman. People are now knowing it just as an Old Forester product, which is really good. So, Old Forester Statesman, 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention to this little series. And if you are interested in the other bottle that's behind me, this one, this was the first ever single barrel Old Forester imported into the UK, and it was picked by a selection of bartenders from Manchester and London. Some of them who work literally around the corner from this shop. There's only about 60 bottles of it available, and I believe they're all gone now. I managed to get one. If you are interested in us reviewing that product, just let us know and we'll do it on the next shoot. It's a really unusual style. There's a little hint, it's got like a Dr. Peppery vibe to it, kind of sweet and spicy at the same time. But if you do want us to review that, let us know in the comments section. But thank you all for watching. That's Old Forester Statesman, 8.5 out of 10. I'm Phil, this is The Whiskey Shop, and I will see you all next week.